Buongiorno. Today we are learning the reflexive verbs. But what is a reflexive verb? The word reflexive comes from reflect. For example, a mirror reflects your image back to you. In the same way as the mirror, with a reflexive verb, the action is done onto oneself. I'll give you an example. I wash myself. Io mi lavo. I is the subject, the one doing the action of wash, and the object of the action is myself. Io mi lavo. To understand this concept even better, I'll give you an example of a non-reflexive verb and its reflexive version. Can you guess which one is which? So, if I say, I dress the kids, io vesto i bambini, or I dress myself, io mi vesto. Which one is the reflexive version? Exactly. I dress myself. Mi vesto is the reflexive verb. So for every reflexive verb, there is another one which is non-reflexive. But how do we identify the reflexive verbs? Okay, so if you have the infinitive, it is very easy to identify the reflexive verbs because they all end in C. What is the infinitive? The infinitive is the version that you find in the dictionary. And for all verbs in Italian, the infinitive always ends in either are, ere, or ire. In the reflexive version, it actually ends in arsi, ersi, and irsi. Some examples are lavarsi, vestirsi, svegliarsi, etc. So, how do you conjugate the reflexive verbs? Let's continue with my first example. We have taken the verbs lavarsi, which is io mi lavo. As you can see, io lavo, it is the normal conjugation of the verb lavare. With the reflexive, you simply put before the verb the pronoun mi. So for each person, io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi e loro, you have a different pronoun. Okay, so for io is mi. Io mi lavo. Tu is ti. Tu ti lavi. He or she, lui o lei, si lava. We, noi, ci laviamo. Pronoun is ci. For voi, you plural, is vi. Voi, vi lavate. And for they, loro, is si again. Loro si lavano. So let's recap briefly what is a reflexive verb. It is a verb that indicates that an action is done onto the subject. So for example, if I am the subject, io mi lavo, it means that I wash myself. Or if I use the verb vestirsi, to get dressed, to dress oneself, I have to say io mi vesto. It could be also a different person that does the action, and the action is always done onto oneself. So I can say lui si veste. He dresses himself. In other words, the subject of the action, I, is also the object of the same sentence, because I wash myself. In a non-reflexive verb, the object will be different. So I would say, in that case, I wash the car. The car is the object, which is different than the subject. But that is not a reflexive verb. So the action is not reflected back onto the subject. So the concept of a reflexive verb exists in English, and so it isn't difficult to understand. And also the conjugation of the reflexive verbs isn't complicated. You simply have to add the pronoun before the verb. So why is it that these verbs are so difficult for English speakers? In fact, for speakers of English as a first language, especially. If you're interested, we are going to shed some light in the next video.